Hello, hello, hello. I am going to just get this started. There might be, it might be kind of slow today. It looks like I'm here by myself because everybody's looking at the Corey Lewandowski. Uh, okay, I've got one, two, and we'll get a couple people here. Yeah, Corey Lewandowski is now talking in Congress, Judicial Committee, and looks like he is not being very nice. He's not being very nice. Oh, Lightning Spark 100. Hello. Hello, Lightning Sparks. Hello, Barbara Young. Nice to see you as well. Welcome, welcome. And okay, we can go ahead and get started. Hello, Missouri Momo of Missouri Momo of 3. Katie, hi. Patricia, hello. Myrna, Celia, Donna, Wandering Eyes. Good to see you back here. Brendan, Manahan, Teresa Gillet. Is it Gillet or Gillet? All right, so I decided that I was going to try. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. And Junine and Lisa. Oh, and thank you, Coriel. Coriel has donated. She had 10 babies. Yes. She had 10 Douglas fir babies. Congratulations, Coriel. Okay, so today I decided to do a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to do is talk about last night's remote. I did a remote last night and I focused predominantly on I didn't focus a lot on the United States, so we can do that during the Blitz. I know a lot of people. Feel free to tell me now. I'll take notes what you want me to do the Blitz on. But last night I was trying to get a good look at Yemen, and I was trying to look at Iran and also Russia. And the reason that I was doing that, hello, Fellerin. Nice to see you, Roses and Bees. Hello, Joey. Hello. The reason I was trying to do that is because of the bombing that took place from Yemen. There was a drone attack, as people know. It's actually a really big deal. Half of Saudi Arabia's oil supply was knocked out. It's interesting because, as I had said months ago, this is one of those things that you can do if you're looking at just the classic remote viewing when you look at energy over the globe. Give it a try and see how you do with that particular exercise. But it looked like we were going to have continuing problems with Yemen. Last night, what I'm concerned about is I'm starting to see that there's Iranian troop mobility on the southern border, the southwestern and southeastern borders, which should have people concerned. I know that in previous remotes, when we tried to put ourselves in the shoes of Iranian leadership, there was this feeling that we were surrounded. We had the Israelis, Saudi Arabians, and the Americans, this feeling of vulnerability. So it doesn't surprise me that we're now starting to see some aggression from Iran. It's a very delicate situation, but what was disturbing about last night's remote is that I'm now starting to see troop mobility, and there could potentially be more strikes, a possibility of a couple more strikes. I don't think it's over, the Saudi Arabian strikes, and that has me a little bit concerned. The other subject, in addition to just the remote I did last night, is I wanted to talk a little bit about the ethics of tarot reading. It's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I know that some of you are learning to be tarot readers. Some of you are professional readers. And I just want to have a conversation for a couple of minutes about the ethics and what you should be looking for when you pick a reader, whether it's a remote viewer or a tarot reader. If you hire somebody, some of what you're going to be looking at. So the first thing that I encourage people to look for is that we all have biases, right? Everybody knows Whimsy's biases. And it's just important to be humble and to recognize your biases. I remember when I was an undergraduate and I studied anthropology, the anthropology professor said that studying anthropology will help you examine your own biases because we all come from our own unique experience, our own cultures, and it may bias the way we interpret information. The ability to step back and look at information objectively and sometimes see things you might not like is the making of a good reader. So the first thing I would say to anybody who's looking for a reader or anyone who is trying to become a reader themselves is to truly know your own biases. Not just politically, but subconscious or deep hidden beliefs about how the world works and how it could potentially color your reading. So that was the first issue that I always encourage people who are becoming readers to look at. Look, we all have biases. We can joke about the biases, and we can talk about who we vote for or don't vote for. But when you're actually doing the reading, you really want to shift out of the me state and just pull back and just read cards. So that's the first advice I would give to people wanting to be readers. The second piece of advice I would give has to do with free choice versus destiny. It's one of those unknown phenomenons. Is everything destiny or is there any free choice? My policy is that I look at energy and I look at the energy that people are co-creating, and I recognize that we, the collective, can choose to move in a different direction. So destiny is nothing more than the accumulation of, there are environmental factors, there are health issues that determine our choices in life. Things happen. And so you have things that we don't have any control over, right? Sometimes things happen that we don't have control over, an earthquake or but even in situations like that, there's some free choice in terms of how we respond to a given situation. Understand, though, that not everybody is in a position to have the type of free choice that we sometimes associate with making spiritually healthy decisions. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But the third subject that I encourage for readers is the subject of predicting death. That's a big no-no for tarot readers and also other readers. We don't predict death. And that's because, first off, we don't know when someone's going to pass away. Even if the cards are suggestive that there may be a physical death, we really want to explain and make it clear to readers that we don't predict death. I remember when I was 15 years old, I was highly impressionable, and somebody predicted the time I would die when and it had a huge impact on me. And I think it's very dangerous because if a person is vulnerable, they can be very susceptible, especially the young, to being almost hypnotized into believing that that's real, and it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the third bit of advice I would give to people becoming readers is please don't make the mistake of predicting a death. The fourth and one of the most important issues that I see readers sometimes dealing with is blaming the victim. Blaming the victim is something that can cause profound damage rather than help support the spiritual progress of the person that may be coming to you for guidance. Understand that how we speak to people who come to us for a reading we have to take into consideration that the people that we're reading for may be severely traumatized. Don't assume if you had great parents that the person you're reading had great parents. Assume that there's a possibility that you're dealing with someone who had extreme trauma. And be mindful of that. Some statements you want to back away from. You choose how you respond to people. Don't say that to a person who's coming into session. And I'll go more into details about that. We choose our parents. Even if you believe that to be true, when a vulnerable, traumatized person who may have a severe trauma in the background, domestic violence, child abuse, comes to you for help, telling that individual that they chose it, or saying you see a past lifetime where they were evil or bad, that's inappropriate. And if the person believes in you, if this is part of their faith to believe in readers, it could potentially put them in a profound depression, even to the point of I've seen people suicidal because of the amount of power given to the readers. So be mindful of that, and be mindful of the fact that it's very important to always keep the power with the customer. The customer has the power. Never let your ego get to such a point where you feel you have the power to deliver this message, which could potentially be devastating. We all make mistakes. I've certainly said things that have traumatized and upset customers over the last 30 years. And I apologize and recognize my mistakes. And it's really the problem of the reader. It's not the problem of the customer. Okay, so we never want to blame the victim, even if you secretly think that the victim somehow asked for it. I would strongly encourage you not to voice it during a session. The fifth thing that I advise people who want to be professional readers is to be willing to admit that you make mistakes, to stay humble, and to avoid getting into is where, because people give so much power to the shaman is like the oracle of, we use that term tongue in cheek here, but if somebody truly has that perception of you, it places you in a position where you have to be mindful of that. Understand the last thing I would say, well, I have a couple more things. The seventh thing I would say is that your intention when you become a professional reader is one of the most important things about your job. It's being aware of what your intention is. Why are you a reader? Why did you want to be a reader? Why did you feel called? Maybe you were psychic, maybe you were empathic, maybe you think it's fun. All of that's great, but if the intention is anything other than advocacy, it may not be the best profession for you, because the primary drive for a reader should be the advocacy, support, and empowerment of the customer. The purpose of the reading is to entertain. This is just for entertainment purposes because we do make mistakes. And also to recognize that we are here to uplift, advocate for, and fight for, empower the customer. We're on their side. And so when you step into those shoes, the first thought in your mind when that person sits down is, how can I help? How can I empower that? My responsibility is to be as honest as possible, to always make sure that they maintain their power, to never say anything that may make another person feel disempowered, and that you're there to empower and encourage others as much as possible. I also want to talk about this idea of something I've been hearing a lot within the community. As a Buddhist, I hear this a lot, and I know the people saying it mean well, and that is this idea that we choose how we respond to criticism. We choose how we respond to the way others treat us. That's an ignorant statement, and I'll tell you why I think that's an ignorant statement. If you are giving a reading to a severely traumatized person who was theoretically molested, abused, etc., at a very early age, more than likely they have severe trauma in their body, severe complex PTSD, and understand that the body is responding to trauma and flashbacks without any conscious awareness of choice. It's a physical reaction. And so saying to somebody who is reacting because they are in the middle of a trauma or they are being triggered and saying, you chose how you're responding is simply somebody who lacks the education to understand how trauma can impact the body and how people can be triggered. Now, because our job as readers is to empower people, that means that we support people so that they can eventually have the skills to choose. But not everybody's there yet. Can you see that? So if somebody has just been raped, if somebody's just been abused, saying to that person, you chose to be traumatized by having been, raped, it's not only not an appropriate statement, it's also cruel, insensitive, and simply ignorant. The body is going to respond to trauma, particularly if you are somebody who's been traumatized, who's an empath. If an empath is in a room with abusive or toxic people and has a past history of trauma, their body may be responding regardless of what they consciously want to do. They may consciously want to choose to be positive. They may consciously really want to be good, but their body is physically reacting to the trauma in ways that they may not feel they have complete control over. And that is why we encourage therapy and counseling and meditation, and in some cases, yes, medication. Some of the medications that are prescribed for people who suffer from PTSD can help. Eventually, as the person becomes stronger, as they heal from the trauma, they may be able to discontinue those medications. But it's just something to be aware of, that because when someone says to me, for example, you chose how you responded, I get that creepy feeling. As a reader, as a sensitive, as an empath, you're going to start recognizing in your body that mentality, what we call the slave master, the way the slave master thinks, which is always to put the onus on the victim and to always put the onus on the person who is the most vulnerable. The victim is always the most vulnerable and the least culpable. Right? So if the victim is a child who's 5 years old and the perpetrator is their father, the most innocent person in that dynamic obviously is the 5-year-old child, and the person most responsible is the perpetrator and the society that helps prop him up. So to be clear, okay, this is modern Buddhism. False belief systems lead to unhappiness. That's very different than saying you asked for it or you deserve it. Again, this is the split between feudalistic Buddhism, Hinayana, and Mahayana, or what happened in the 13th century when we started to realize that that was just gaslighting, that feudalism is socio-cultural gaslighting, right? And that the source of our unhappiness isn't because we had a past lifetime that made us wicked, but if you are convinced that you are trash because you've been told you were trash since you were born, and you go to a reader that tells you you were trash, you will be, for all intensive purposes, because you've never been encouraged to be empowered, begin to believe it's true, and consequently, you will not feel that you have the right to protect and defend yourself. Can you all see that? And so that is a modern Buddhist interpretation of karma. Now we have a story we like to tell in SGI. Sensei, our mentor, tells this story quite a bit. And that is the story of the Buddha being a great physician. And when the Buddha came into the world, he brought a great medicine. And that great medicine was the teachings. And one day the Buddha had to leave. He had to go, the physician had to go and take care of his patients. And while he was away, he had, this particular physician had thousands of children. And while the physician was away, this is how the story goes, this great physician goes away and he leaves his thousands of children to their own devices. And what these children do while the physician is away is they begin to play with the doctor's medicines. And they mix them and they pour them and they end up making poison. And then the children drink the poison and then they go insane. Those poisons are false teachings and false belief systems. So when the physician returned and he saw that all of his children had been drinking crazy poison and had gone crazy, the physician created an antidote, right? Okay, in modern Buddhism, we call that the Lotus Sutra, the correct teachings, right? The Eightfold Path. And when the physician gave the medicine to his children and said, "You've gone crazy, here's the medicine," 1/3 of the children took the medicine and their eyes opened up and said, "Oh, that's reality. Okay. I'm now able to take responsibility for my life because I now have the skills to be empowered." That's the medicine. 1/3 of the children weren't quite sure they should take the medicine. Maybe there's really some truth to these false belief systems. I don't know. 1/3 couldn't decide. And then 1/3 thought that the doctor was the devil. That's how the story goes. So 1/3 took the medicine and became enlightened. 1/3 were on the fence, and 1/3 saw the Buddha as the devil. All right, so that's an example of modern Buddhism's perception of karma, false belief systems that keep us trapped in negative relationships. All right, so I just wanted to share that. We can agree or disagree about karma and the modern Buddhist perceptions of karma, but if you are a professional reader or if you are looking for a professional reader, just be mindful of those points. And if you're looking for somebody who's going to be empowering you and you see victim bashing or you don't feel that the person is there to empower you, maybe find another reader. Okay, so that is my rant, because we all know that I have strong feelings about human rights and advocacy, but yes, naltrexone has helped. Prozac was actually invented by a bunch of hippies. I don't even think that they made a lot of money off of it. It was before the days of big pharma, and I think it has 50 years of safe research. And it just helped people with complex PTSD get to a point where their body wasn't constantly physically reacting to flashbacks, etc. I mean, really, the best definition I have of complex PTSD, certainly how it's affected my life, is that I did not have free choice. The disease had control. I did not have control. If you have complex PTSD and you're not treating it, you're not in control. The disease is in control. The best way to describe it would be like telling a diabetic that they can choose not to take their insulin. Oh, it's just your negative thoughts. Now, there are people that really believe that. They believe that they can think away their type 1 diabetes, but my money's on insulin. Okay, I've done my rant. Some people will agree with me, some people won't. That's okay, but that's how I practice. All right, so my Lewin. So go ahead and tell me what you want me to blitz. People want to know about Lewandowski. Yeah, we can do that. I mean, I think it's a joke what's going on. I think he's in contempt, and I think he should be. I think that the sergeant at arms should arrest him and lock him up, but no one's going to do that. So, all right. So you want to do Lewandowski? Anything else? I need to look at Yemen because I don't like that troop movement I'm seeing on the Iranian. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'll be honest with everybody. Any up and coming medicinal cures? Yeah, I mean, I do want to talk about healing the heart because there's something called cordials, and I want to start showing people how to make a cordial. Those were originally named after borage. Borage was used to heal the heart. So was motherwort, hawthorn, linden flower. And so I might just show people how a cordial is made for healing heart trauma, emotional trauma. Yeah, you're right, Laurette. It's the patriarchy, because when you owned a plantation, you had to justify what you were doing to your victims, and that's why many of them used the Bible and said it's God's will, because it gave uh, it gave to them, it gave them the feeling of authority in which to control the slaves. If they had said, no, I'm just making all of this up because I want free labor, nobody would be willing to obviously put up with that. If they, not that they had a choice, but you'd probably have a hard time politically maintaining it. All right. Is Nadler going to last through this testimony debacle? I think we need to start arresting people. You know, there is a sergeant of arms and he is in contempt, and Nadler could theoretically have him arrested. All right, let's go ahead. While I'm waiting for more questions, I'm going to go ahead and just throw on the conflict and the drone that hit Saudi Arabia. The case of the Parliament of UK Brexit, I think Brexit's going to collapse because it's not physical. It can't be done. You can't do Brexit. It's not. It's 2 and 2 doesn't make 3. But you want me to check out Parliament? And he lied to the Queen, and yeah, Johnson's in a lot of trouble. Okay, let's go. Let's just look at the war situation with Saudi Arabia. It's very serious. Saudi Arabia was, half their oil was bombed, their oil facilities. I'm just going to look at it from the, oh, thank you, Yolanda. Yolanda just, she had, how many fur babies did you have there, Yolanda? Looks like 10 babies. 10 babies for Yolanda. Oh, Yolanda. You know what? They say it's extremely good karma if you plant a tree. And even after we pass, the tree that we gave life to lives for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so something of us remains. Isn't that cool? Giving life long after we're gone. That's why planting trees is considered such good karma. In the Buddhist organization that I'm a part of, we always love to plant trees. We plant the cherry blossom. I think that after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the cherry blossom still bloomed that spring. And so it's a symbol of endurance, particularly after suffering. Okay, let's take a look at Yemen. But I'm going to look from the Saudi Arabian perspective. Okay. Negotiation time. Base of the card, lovers and 2 of cups. People are really frightened that they're going to war. Look at that. Negotiations, lovers, talking. We're probably going to see mediation, and it's probably going to be international mediation because there are multiple people involved here. You can see lovers, 2 of cups. It's not just going to be the United States. This could be the United States, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Iran sitting down, along with the European Union. That's good because there are plenty of people that don't want to go to war. Right now, we're in a state of confusion. 7 of Cups moving in the first house would denote that people really don't know what to do, and they're probably right now, we're just kind of shell-shocked from the bombing. But what crosses it? Rocky waters, concerns about finances, concerns about possible stock market. This is up and down with the market. Pentacles often denotes money, and it's up and down. And you can see the rocky waters in the background. So we could be seeing dips and changes in the stock market as a result of this. What is above us? Again, cups. People really want to avoid war. a new contract or new deal. It looks like Trump wants to go in and create a new contract or a new peace contract with Iran. So to be clear, what we're seeing here, as I interpret the cards, is that there will be an attempt to do a better deal with Iran than the deal that Obama had. And so they're going into meetings. It looks like it's an international mediation, and it looks like they're going to have a new contract similar to the one they had before. But yeah, look at all this cups energy. And look at this new contract. So he got out of the Iran deal, but he wants a new Iran deal. And it does make him look weak, I'll be honest with you, with those types of cards. Going it alone. The peacemakers, look at that. Also, this is a scholarship card, seeking enlightenment or knowledge. So there are people that are genuinely trying to find solutions. A lot of people feel that Bolton really pushed the war narrative. And I don't think that people thought that Iran was going to take it seriously. They were, beating their chest. And I don't think they expected this type of aggressive response. And the final outcome, peace. Basically, Iran. Part of why Iran did this was to get into a situation of negotiation, so that they would be on the defensive and be forced back into talks. That seems to be what I'm saying. There could be more bombings. I don't know. I see potentially 2 more bombings or 2 more attempts from drone attacks on Saudi. And again, I do not like this troop movement I see on the southern border. I don't like it at all, and it could indicate that the Iranians are taking the threatening language very, very seriously. And I like the fact that all this cups energy is coming in, but unfortunately, I'm concerned that we still could see future attacks against Saudi Arabia. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the Israeli election now, and I'm just going to do it from the perspective of Netanyahu, whether or not he's going to win a majority he's going to be able to build a coalition. Does anybody know Benjamin Netanyahu's birthday? Can anybody quickly Google it so that I know what significator to use? I'm thinking he's a water sign, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Lately, I've been really getting the impression that Netanyahu is compromised. I'll go ahead and use the King of Cups. All right, I just want to see how Netanyahu does in this next election. It's almost like I'm skeptical about this bombing of Saudi Arabia because it right before the Israeli election, something, which would theoretically drive people in mass in Israel who are concerned about a war with Iran. It would drive people in mass to vote Likud, vote conservative, because they don't feel safe. The timing is a little off, to put it mildly. All right, what's going on with Netanyahu? Will Netanyahu win a majority? Let's look. The Trinity. Higher power, negotiation, 6 of Cups. Something about the ethos is being challenged in Israel right now. The ethos of the nation coming together. I like this because this could indicate communicating or reaching across the aisle. Hey, Yolanda. She gave another $10 to the trees. Thank you, Yolanda. You can see here reaching across the aisle, or 6 of Cups, and coming to a common ethos. Where he is at right now, right over him, he's working very closely with somebody else. There's a King of Pentacles right over him. So it's almost as if two people next to each other are working close together. I don't know enough about the situation to know who this person is. And then what's crossing it is karma. So something about the relationship between Netanyahu and some other man or who he did business with, the karma is right over him, a consequence of that, whatever the consequence of that was. There are consequences for all our relationships. There are always consequences, whether or not it means isolating ourselves, creating friends, creating enemies. But here we can see some kind of relationship he had, and it appears that it's a business contact, has a karmic outcome. What is above him? Hopes of a celebration. What he sits below? Ten of Pentacles, his inheritance. There's a lot here about his inheritance, his karma, a feeling like this is his inheritance. This is what he was there to do. He has inherited this situation through his behavior or through his actions. Certain people are willing to work with him who may not have been willing to work with him in the past. Knight of Cups comes in with an Eight of Wands, a growth card. Limited, he's at a point where he's trying to think of, there's some questions about, I don't think he's confident. With the Seven of Cups in his 7th house, which could show confusion, looking at the clouds, there's an aspect here of delusion, self-delusion. There's an aspect of self-delusion. This is the courts. This is the eyes opening up. There is some ongoing investigation here, and the investigation is proceeding, and the eyes are continually opening up regarding whatever. The investigation is not thwarted. It continues on regardless of what happens with the election. The hope and the fear. King of Swords. That's also Trump's card. Fighting, conflict, but it's also negotiation between conflicting sides. It leads me to think that the progressives and liberals are probably going to gain more seats because you can see exchange of ideas between people who have conflicting ideas. It's looking like they're going to gain a couple, transformation. A woman is entering into a position of power. I think he's going to lose 2 or 3 seats. Anybody in Israel know what that would mean? It shows Netanyahu trying really hard to reach across the aisle and create a coalition. This is a coalition. Coming to a common ground to create a coalition. It's possible that he could retain power, that Netanyahu could stay in power, but it's a very razor-thin margin, just because it looks like about 2 or 3 seats got lost. But he's got a 3 of Cups in his 4th house, so he could pull it off, but he's going to have to pull it off by having a broader coalition than he currently has. That's what I see. If he does lose, it's because they just skimmed it. There's a woman in position of power who's starting to emerge in the Knesset based on those cards. That looks pretty interesting. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at Boris Johnson now. Oh, he's October 21st, 19. Thank you, Yolanda. You're very helpful. Yeah, a water sign, right? Is he on the cusp? All right, Spirit. Let's just go ahead and see what's going on with Brexit. Something that's scientifically impossible. Everybody knew it was impossible. Okay, I just want to check Parliament in Britain, what's going to happen there. And I also want to check with Boris Johnson. It's very interesting what's happening in the world right now. I've been corresponding with Lena Rodriguez. So we're going to try, and she's living close to where I'll be staying. So We're going to try and do something together. And I really like her work. So it's very exciting. My soul sister, I was thinking, Lena is down under and I'm up over. So the up over and the down under are going to get together and maybe we'll do a tarot card blitz. Part of me wanted to do a slumber party with Lena Rodriguez and David Johnson, where we would all come in our onesies and raise money for the environment. Wouldn't that be fun? We could do remote viewings, psychic readings, eat healthy snacks, and raise money for Gaia. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay. Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Ooh, I just got a really bad feeling. Something's coming. The authorities are coming in. British intelligence is coming in. Somebody's in a lot of trouble. Let's take a look. The issue of trade, globe. This is the entrepreneur. He looks over at the water and he looks at the globe. This has to do with international trade, his relationship with the globe. It's symbolized by him looking at the water and looking at his trade and sending his boats out. So that's really the underlining main issue with Brexit. And we can see here, this is a time where people are simply rattling their brains trying to see how to pull this off. A hermit card moving in, which is a scholarship card. It's also about going it alone. Look at this. What's going to happen in Parliament, and people who are British could please explain this to me because I have no idea what I'm talking about. There's something about holding the budget or holding the coin or refusing to release money for certain projects until there's more oversight. So this is a block of money. This is holding on to coin, holding on to money, not releasing it, not approving bills, and not approving a budget. What crosses it? The money or the budget. So there's something about they're watching the coin, they're holding the coin, and they're not going to release some money or some coin. That is right over this issue. It's like the police or the authorities are watching the money and transactions of money, and I don't know what I'm seeing here. King of Swords moving in, could be Trump's card. The wish of Trump or the wish of Boris Johnson. It's about something to do with money and getting the money needed or securing the money regarding availability of funds. And something about getting the money coming in and possibly the wish. Look at this. Boris Johnson's headache. It looked like there was temporary success. He had temporary success. He will, but something is happening. There's some kind of an investigation in, I don't know what I'm seeing, but the situation's been transformed. And the outcome is the Tower. There is some kind of report that's going to be released involving money and bribes, and I don't know what I'm seeing here, but the situation is about to change in the next week or two, and it has to do with money. As I said here, the situation is transforming, and there's some kind of, somebody is watching or looking at what's going on. Ooh, there comes Deborah. And there comes the judge. It's the judges. The judges, the law. Look at this. 9 of Wands, defensive and cornered, wounded. Johnson's not long for this world. Not only that, but it looks like the courts are coming in. These are court cards. You can see the judge here, and also my favorite, Deborah, transforms the situation. It was the clarification of the death was due to legal actions by judges. So, and then it results in the tower crash and 9 of Wands. Everything is ripped apart. All I can tell people is I know that there are people that want Brexit that do watch the channel. I'm sorry, I can't see this as positive. I just can't. It's not like I'm trying to spin it. It can't be done. Brexit is scientifically impossible. Maybe a light Brexit, or, for people who've been watching me for a year, have I ever gotten good cards on Brexit? I mean, remind me. I don't think so. Okay, now I've been also asked, people are very worried about the economy. So I think we're going to go ahead and just look and see if we're headed towards a crash in October, because crashes traditionally happen in October. And the jobs reports I'm hearing are a lot worse. They're covering up the jobs report. Isn't that cheery? So people are very worried about October. Let's just go in. Spirit, what can you tell us about the economy? Oh, I forgot to pray. Well, let's do it now. Sorry, I got so excited. All right, I apologize. Oh, I get so excited to read and then I forget the important parts. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and my viewers as I ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and wisdom needed to empower our viewers, that they make the best decisions for themselves, for the people they love, for their families, and for the planet. And with that, I say amen. Short and sweet. Sorry, I forgot. Okay, Spirit. Are we going to have a crash? God, Johnson's going to be dragged out. What an idiot. Sorry. Okay. This is the economy. I'll focus on the global economy, not just the US. It's all connected. I'm glad I bought my tickets for Australia before the oil fields were bombed. Okay, we get our wish. So there's some confusion coming in about the economy, but I like the fact that the 9 of Cups is there. Where we're at right now, there are some contracts or some deals or some relationships globally that are not good for the economy. That's the best way to describe it. If you're talking about the Devil card, it's unhealthy or unwholesome relationships. All right, so we have a Devil card over us, and then what's crossing it, again, scholarship. So some aspect of the relationships, whether it's illegal or morally questionable business practices, seems to be problematic for the economy. But the Hermit card is coming in, so it seems to also be something that people are trying to make sure doesn't happen. And then again, we have a 3 of Cups, the rejoicing card in the 3rd house, and a transformation potentially of the economy. The karmic wheel is associated also with the economy. So some aspect of what has been going on in the last couple of years is resulting in, smoother waters. So for the time being, it looks like the economists are working to deal with whatever these issues are and trying to stabilize the economy. A nice 6 of Swords. So in the near future, things seem stable. Understand that the 6th house is just the near future. Okay, where the nation is, the ethos, right? And that's also, because I did the planet, it's the common ethos, or nobody wants a recession. Nobody wants the economy to crash. And people recognize it has something to do with relationships, contracts, or business with certain, there are certain business activities that are taking place that are a threat to the economy. And there's an awareness of that. What is around us? Negotiations, inheritance, communication, hopes and fears that we will be tied by contracts that and relationships that theoretically harm us. And then the final outcome for the economy, the King of Swords moving in. That could indicate a military feeling to it. Four of Pentacles, holding the coin is not good. It could indicate a mild recession, right? Frugality regarding international affairs. It's a new beginning in the economy and a new beginning for Trump. It's almost, you know what it almost looks like? It almost looks like Donald Trump leaves the White House and he begins a new career. It's like he's going to have a post-presidency career. Isn't that interesting? It's like he wants to go back to being a reality TV star. Look at that. Bizarre, 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 bizarre. Barr? For you, anything, Yolanda. For the people who donate to trees, absolutely, I will look at cards for you. All right. Does anybody remember Barr? What sign Barr is? Is he? I always make him the King of Pentacles. Ooh, Canada election. That is true. We got. Ooh, we'll do that next. Okay, let's do Barr. I'm gonna, because he's dark haired, I use the King of Pentacles. It's fun today, isn't it? We're having fun today. All right, let's look at Barr, and then we're going to look at the Canada election. It's nice when we do the international stuff, you know, so that more people can be included. All right, let's take a look at Barr. It's going to be with Barr. Let's take a look. I'm curious now. What is taking place with Barr? A new beginning, a new bromance, a new romance, and a new beginning for Barr regarding what? He's thinking about his retirement. He's thinking about his finances. There's a crash right over him, and it has to do with finances. So we do know that based on the last couple of remotes we've done, that there's a serious criminal investigation going on about missing or transferred funds. And every time I go into Pelosi's energy, she is working with intelligence agencies about oversight and missing money. And we can see here there's a crash coming. Something's going to happen where Barr can no longer protect this administration because we're looking at potentially all-out theft. Something happened regarding how somebody harvested or took money, and there's a crash. There's all these lawsuits that come in, but all these ethical issues that come in, that there's going to come a point, and it's right over Barr, when he can no longer sign up with this administration, not because he wouldn't love to keep this going, but because he can't keep it going. And I still believe that part of why he was brought in was to gently remove this person. I still believe that. That was, he's still a conservative, though. He'll try and pass conservative legislation. But yeah, because he's, lovers with the other side. Again, the reason why I think readers have a hard time with Barr is because there's some aspect to his card chart where he always appears to be working both sides of the fence. And I know other readers have talked about this. And look what's coming in his fourth house, confusion about his choices. So this is somebody who sees the crash coming, sees the investigations, and finds himself in a situation where he really doesn't know what to do or who to work with. Can you all see that? Trying to heal things. He can no longer protect this president. That's the best way to describe it. We've reached the point where it's beyond anything that Barr is not in a position of power to protect this administration at this point. Yeah, it's the business of the nation. He tries to smooth things out. He sees himself as a peacemaker. He doesn't see himself as someone who's making problems. He sees himself as the mediator and the peacemaker. There's some kind of legal thing happening, some kind of investigation happening. This is also Mueller's card. Mueller keeps coming back. And there's grief here. The Mueller report keeps coming back as a source of grief for Barr. And it's not over. I didn't see Robert Mueller. People say, oh, he didn't look at the money. That's not what the remotes showed. The remotes showed that he did look at the money, but because it wasn't part of his mandate, he collected all of that information and then passed it on to ongoing criminal investigations to the FBI and also New York DA. So I think people have misunderstood based on the remotes I did. They misunderstood Robert Mueller. No, he was not allowed to go into, he was not permitted to go into the finances or to publish anything like that in the reports. So he looked at anytime he was following the money, and then he was handing everything over to all these other investigations and then just focusing on writing his report, which was about this small. Just because he wrote his report about this one aspect doesn't mean he wasn't following the money and he wasn't taking those stacks of documents and then passing them on to the New York DA. He certainly did that with Michael Cohen. And if we did it with Michael Cohen, we can assume he did it with other people as well. So don't assume that that Mueller's finished. Elaine Chao's ethics, absolutely. I'm curious about that too. Nancy Pelosi, when I go into a remote with her, seems to be in secretly looking, because she has to oversee the budget. She's the head of Congress, and Congress oversees the budget. So she is in very serious private talks about this missing money. And Barr can't protect him. That's what it looks like. He got caught. Okay, let's look at Chao. It's going to be with Elaine Chao. And then we'll finish after that. It's going to be with Elaine Chao's future. I need to get a significator. I'm going to use her as the Queen of Pentacles, if that's okay. Isn't this fun? All right, what is going to be with Elaine Chao? With Elaine Chao. Does she have a future? Is she in trouble? Let's take a look. Shockproof. Shockproof has given birth to 5 babies. 5 tree babies. So we congratulate Shock on the birth of their 5 tree babies. Mazel tov. All right. She's in serious trouble. Look at that base. Worst card in the card chart. Would the readers here agree that there's nothing worse than the Ten of Swords? I think so. She's trying to smooth out the situation, but it's too little too late. Look at that. She is really in trouble. She is not happy. Wow. She's moving on. She could potentially be forced out. Look at that. She's got a chariot right over. She could voluntarily resign at this point. Yeah, hanging it up. Look at this. She's going to be asked to put in her resignation, or she's going to be forced to leave. Look at that. She's going to offer to resign. She's being investigated. Very defensive. She's terrified. When I look at this card, I get chills of terror. She's scared. She's moving on. Look at that. I don't see her staying here. Chariot, Hangman, Three of Wands coming in, trying to heal the situation. Some kind of legal situation or determination is being, she's trying to determine what the best move is. But look at this. This is somebody who hands in their resignation. Look at that. This was a nightmare for her. Look at that. Two of Pentacles, bouncing back and forth the coin. Rocky waters with the coin. A new beginning. The hope and the fear. She wants to just get along and be the Queen of Cups. The final outcome. The wish is granted to her regarding what? Trying to be stable. She's worried about her finances. Oh, they are looking into it. Look at that. She's got a High Priestess, which is the opening of the eyes. So they've opened up an investigation. Jeez. Hopes and fears. The Ten of Cups. She's worried about the effect on her family. And the final outcome, healing. She gets her wish in healing. So she will probably be okay and not face criminal prosecution, but it's very likely that she could move on. So the fact that it ended on a positive note, I don't think we're looking at criminal charges, but we could possibly be looking at censor, some kind of action, and resignation. Okay. Did everybody enjoy that? Did everybody have fun? I hope so. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I also want to thank the moderators for helping. I don't see any moderators, but because I've been working. But for the moderators and for everybody that's participated, and also for the people that have donated to the charities. The day we get paid is always the 21st. I've mentioned that. I will be on an airplane on the 21st, but I won't be on an airplane until 11:30. So let's see if before I get on the plane, I can make the donations and shoot a video so that people don't have to wait. Because the people in the Bahamas need the help now, right? All right, thank you, everyone. My email is whimsyanderson@gmail.com. No E in Whimsy, WHIMSY, Anderson, ANDERSON @gmail.com. All right, peace out, everyone. Thanks so much for watching the stream, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, I have one more thing to say. I'm still taking patients and customers for readings until Saturday if you're trying to get in. All right, bye.